Let's talk about the strongest rogue ninja of every village in the Naruto series. A rogue ninja is simply a ninja that once worked and was loyal to a certain village, and now, well, he or she decided to leave the village and is no longer loyal to them, mostly to do crimes and stuff, bad things. So we will determine which particular rogue ninja was the strongest for every village when they were no longer loyal to said village. Starting off with the Stone Village. This one's not very difficult. It's gonna be our boy Deidara, one of the strongest Akatsuki members. He has everything going for him, man. His KK Genkai is the explosion style, and he can use his weird mouth hands to create explosives out of his clay and shoot him at a distance. He can also access other types of explosions, such as C4 Karura, creating nano explosives that explode you from inside out. He can fly, which is a pretty big deal as well, and you can just see how powerful this guy is in the fight against Gaara, for example, when he drops his C3 on top of the Sand Village, which explodes as hard as a Bijudama. My guy Deidara left the Stone Village because he wanted to essentially blow things up illegally. He didn't really care about the death and destruction he caused. He just thought that art was an explosion, and an explosion that lasted for the briefest of second was the most beautiful thing in the world, because true art happened in the flash of an instant. Something he debated a lot with his partner in the Akatsuki, Sasori, but we can also see how interesting the process of Deidara being recruited was. He was essentially called in for a meeting with the Akatsuki members, and Itachi said, well, if you lose the battle, you're in. There's no other way, and he loses, of course, and then he joins the Akatsuki. Now, I have to be fair and say that Deidara is pretty much the only rogue ninja we know from the Stone Village, but he is a high Kage level ninja, so I don't think anybody will complain that he is the pick for the Stone Village particularly. I mean, especially also when you consider C0, which, sure, you have to sacrifice yourself to deal that type of damage, but it was by far the strongest explosion we've ever seen in the Naruto series before the 10 Tails was revived. Now let's move on to the Grass Village, and we also don't know a whole lot of ninjas from that particular place, but we do know one specific rogue ninja, which is gonna be Karin. We know she was from the Grass Village at one point in her life because actually we get a flashback when she is about to be killed by Sasuke, where she remembers Sasuke in the Chunin exams back in Naruto Part 1. Was that a retcon? Yes, that was absolutely a retcon. We never see Karin in the Chunin exams back in Part 1, even though there are shots where we see the entire room. For example, in the written test, we see almost every single participant, and we never see Karin there. We also never see her in the Forest of Death, where there were fewer participants. And then, well, if she didn't advance to the preliminaries, she got eliminated in the Forest of Death somehow. We also don't really see Sasuke going off and fighting against that weird bear that was attacking Karin at all. It could be implied that Sasuke went off when, I don't know, Sakura and Naruto were taking care of the campfire and stuff after they encountered Orochimaru and the Sound Team, but we just don't know exactly when that was time-wise in the Forest of Death. Regardless, we know Karin joined forces with Orochimaru, and she seems to be loyal to him. It's not like Suigetsu, where it's very much implied Orochimaru is forcing him into his shady dealings, because Karin wants to keep the prison that she is the warden of safe and the prisoners in the prison, even after she learns Orochimaru was killed by Sasuke. She doesn't want to leave her job. It's only after realizing she can get together with Sasuke by joining his group that she is swayed and actually goes along with going with Team Heavy and their missions and stuff. We don't know a whole lot of people from the Grass Village. We know Karin, we know Shiori and her teammates in the Chunin exams that Orochimaru killed, but other than that, yeah, it's just them, and the only one that's a rogue ninja happens to be Karin, who is pretty powerful considering the average level of a ninja in the verse. Like, she's gonna be much more powerful than a Chunin, for example, but she's definitely not the most impressive shinobi on this list. She has that Uzumaki endurance, a lot of chakra, she can also heal very well, and she gets the adamantine chains in the War Arc. Even still, she pales in comparison to everybody else on this list. Next, let's move on to the Mist Village. This was pretty easy, I would say. It's definitely gonna be Kisame. Now, we know a couple more rogue ninjas from the Mist Village. We know Haku, we know Zabuza. You can even include Kimimaru on the list of rogue ninjas from the Mist Village, but they all pale in comparison to the power of Hoshi Shigaki Kisame, the shark dude, the carrier of Samehada. He literally is the guy with the most chakra in the entire Akatsuki, including Nagato. He absolutely bodied Killer Bee and infiltrated the Turtle Island to capture the 8 and the 9 tails, which failed because of Might Guy, Kisame's natural counter. But even still, nobody has water style as powerful as Kisame's. We just see the sheer scale of his water attacks, creating almost an ocean out of thin air, and also that massive bubble that he imprisons Bee with. It's just completely insanity. It's a shame that Kisame wasn't brought back for the war. And obviously Samehada is also the strongest sword out of the 7 ninja swordsmen. It's not even close, to be honest. The Samehada completely stomps the other swords in terms of how useful and powerful it is. The next one's going to be the Sand Village, and obviously Sasori of the Red Sand. Our boy Sasori is definitely the strongest rogue ninja in the Sand Village for sure. He has the power to control living puppets that he creates out of real people. Pretty gross, but pretty powerful. He uses that to puppet the 3rd Kazekage, who he killed somehow in the past. Not only that, but he also transformed his own body into a puppet, making himself almost immortal. You just have that little weakness in his chest, you know, the living core that Chiyo actually deals a fatal blow to and kills Sasori with. But anyway, the most impressive jutsu that he has is the 100 puppets jutsu, where he doesn't have to use his fingers to control the puppets, but he has that chakra thread hole in his chest where he can actually send out those chakra threads to link with the puppets and control an entire army. He claims he destroyed an entire nation with it, and I've made an entire video about how he did that. We also don't really know a lot of rogue ninjas from the sand, but Sasori is pretty damn powerful, and I don't think anybody's going to be complaining that he got a place on this list. The next village is going to be the Hot Spring Village, one of the most obscure villages in the entire Naruto series. We kind of only know one particular ninja from that village, and he so happens to be a rogue ninja, which is great for our list. This guy is gonna be Hidan, the Joshin follower, the cultist, the religious guy of the Akatsuki. Now, he's definitely the weakest member of the Akatsuki. If you're interested in seeing who's the weakest, who's the strongest, and who's in the middle in terms of strength in the Akatsuki, I've also made an entire video about that if you want to check that out. But even though he is the weakest member of the Akatsuki, he is still extremely powerful for an average ninja in the Naruto universe. Sure, if Kakuzu hadn't put him back together, Hidan would have lost the fight to Team Asuma in their first encounter, but his immortality is probably the best one in the entire series and the most reliable, because he gets pierced by several weapons, damaged in all types of ways, and still his body seems to be holding up just fine. It's only after he loses his head that Kakuzu has to intervene and sew him back together. And he can also hold his own in terms of taijutsu with his massive scythe. He doesn't really need to do much, he just has to draw blood and then perform the ritual, which he used to defeat Niyugito and the Two Tails. Pretty impressive stuff. Now let's move on to the Cloud Village, which is an interesting village because out of the 5 major nations, it's the only one with no Akatsuki member. Like, there's no rogue ninja that deserted the Cloud Village and joined the Akatsuki. It's pretty impressive. Even still, they do have a couple of very famous rogue ninjas that kinda stomped Tobirama very, very hard, and I'm so happy they did so because Tobirama's father and he deserves to be stomped. Of course, I am talking about Kinkaku and Ginkaku, the Gold and Silver brothers. Each of them carries 2 of the ninja tool artifacts from the Sage of Six Paths, and they also have access to a pseudo Jinchuriki form of the Nine Tails because they were once swallowed by the Kyuubi, and they kinda ate their way out of the Kyuubi's stomach, and in the process of ingesting the Nine Tails' meat, they acquire the Nine Tails' chakra. Pretty weird stuff, but they do have that. However, those are 2 characters, and we have to pick one. So which one is stronger? Kinkaku, the golden brother, or Ginkaku, the silver brother? Well, the interesting thing is that when they join the war arc, the first thing they kind of say to each other is, "Oh man, we stomped Tobirama back then, but I cannot believe he used the Edo Tensei against us," because obviously they they knew Tobirama invented and used the Edo Tensei during the First Great Ninja War, and they thought Tobirama was the guy that brought them back. That's weird, isn't it? Because if they killed Tobirama, why would they think Tobirama used the Edo Tensei and not somebody else? Because if Tobirama was dead, even though they died afterwards, in whatever way they did, well, they still knew Tobirama was dead, unless they imprisoned Tobirama and did some experiments on him or something. I don't know. Well, regardless, we have to determine which one is the strongest between the two brothers. Ginkaku, the silver brother, was the first one to be sealed by Darui, using his own jutsu with the tools against him with a sealing word. Ginkaku said Kinkaku, which was his cursed word, and then he got drained into this strange gourd that kind of seals people by saying their words and whatever. The Ginkaku fight is actually pretty boring. They both look like absolute jokes, but anyway, Kishimoto wants us to believe they're Kage level, so let's believe, man. After Ginkaku gets sealed, Kinkaku, the golden brother, gets extremely mad and uses his latent Ninetales chakra, and then he's promptly sealed by Inoshikacho kinda easily. They do get the fifth tool that the Cloud Village had access to, and they used that to seal Kinkaku with a clever strategy by Shikamaru. But he also didn't look very impressive. Even still, he was sealed later. He held out longer, and there were actually a lot of ninjas from the Alliance assaulting Kinkaku in that state. So I'll say Kinkaku, the golden brother, was the stronger of the two brothers. First, because he lasted longer in the war. Second, because he is the golden brother, and thematically speaking, gold trumps silver, right? Gold and silver, gold's first place, silver second place, makes sense. And also the tools that he has access to are more impressive. Now the golden lasso works in conjunction with Ginkaku's sword, so they are essentially useless by themselves, but the fan that Kinkaku uses was used later on by Tenten to stomp Kakuzu very hard in one shot. It's pretty powerful, and it's much more powerful than the gourd that Ginkaku had and that Daru used to seal him. So I'll give this one to Kinkaku and not Ginkaku, but they're pretty much at the same level. I mean, Ginkaku and Kinkaku are essentially the same character. They're just like one character. They're kind of like the Mist brothers that attacked Team 7 back in part 1. Like, you kind of consider both of them one character and that's it, but if you are going to determine who's the stronger, that's gonna be Kinkaku. Now, moving on to the Rain Village, it's gonna be Nagato. And, well, I know it's weird because Nagato is the guy that actually commands the Rain Village and is the quote-unquote Kage of the village, but that wasn't always the case. Remember back in the day when the Akatsuki was being formed and they weren't still the massive crime organization that they became, hunting down the tail of beasts and all that. They were an organization inside the Rain Village that strived for change. And the leader of the Rain Village back in the day was Hanzo of the Salamander, the man that stomped 3 legendary San and actually gave their San in title to them. And Hanzo did not like the Akatsuki back then. You know, he didn't really know the Akatsuki as we know in Naruto Shippuden, but the pseudo Akatsuki that was being formed, and Yahiko was technically the leader when he was still alive. And yes, they fought for the Rain Village for a time when there were a lot of wars and bad stuff going on to defend their homeland, but there came a time when Hanzo got very pissed at the Akatsuki and thought that they should be dealt with. He got Danzo's help to do so, and well, Hanzo was not very competent. He wasn't able to destroy the Akatsuki before they, got very powerful and threatened the entire world, which is unfortunate because, as we know, Danzo is very based, and if he had succeeded in that and destroying the Akatsuki before it formed when he was supporting Hanzo, then every single problem in the Naruto series would have been solved. Regardless, Hanzo thinks it's time for the Akatsuki to be dealt with because he doesn't want them trying a coup or something like that. So he captures Konan and orders Nagato to kill Yahiko. Nagato can't do it. However, Yahiko shoves himself into Nagato's kunai, dying in the process, which pisses Nagato off to no end. He summons the Ghetto Mazo and wipes out Hanzo's army with the ethereal dragon technique. Hanzo manages to escape, but in that moment, Nagato was was a rogue ninja of the Rain Village because the de facto leader was still Hanzo, and he was actively fighting against the Rain Village, making him a rogue shinobi. Now, one could say that he had the best intentions of the Rain Village in mind when doing that, but that doesn't really matter. The acting body of government was composed by Hanzo and his subordinates. Subordinates which were massacred by Nagato in that situation, and also Nagato went on to kill Hanzo with Pain's bodies, but still, it was him. He kills Hanzo and takes over the Rain Village. And then, when he becomes the actual leader, he is no longer a rogue shinobi, but that's because he succeeded in his coup. And I mean, I don't really have to explain why Nagato is the strongest rogue ninja, right, in the Rain Village. He has the Renegon, he has every nature transformation, he has every single Renegon path, he can summon the Ghetto Mazo and use the Ethereal Dragon, which he never uses again, and I made a video about that. But Nagato is an absolute powerhouse, and also an Uzumaki with a lot of chakra. Next village is going to be the Sound Village. Now, you may be thinking, well, the Sound Village is kind of a village made entirely out of rogue ninjas, and, well, that's kinda right, because many of the ninjas there, especially, you know, Orochimaru himself, who was once a ninja from the Leaf Village, and therefore he is a rogue ninja from the Leaf. He founded the Sound Village, but upon the founding of said village, there are ninjas that are loyal to the village and work for Orochimaru and his goals. And so when these ninjas cease to be loyal to the Sound Village and Orochimaru, they become rogue ninjas of the Sound Village. The strongest one by far, and I mean by far, is obviously going to be Sasuke Uchiha, who attacks Orochimaru in his deathbed and kind of stomps him very easily, taking his body, humiliating him, and pretty much destroying the Sound Village in the process. I mean, Sasuke kills Orochimaru, then he goes to collect some people that he wants in his team, and he releases the prisoners that Orochimaru kept in several different prisons. However, Sasuke is still a rogue ninja of the Sound Village because he was loyal to Orochimaru and betrayed him, very much so. And even if you may say that the Sound Village was destroyed by Sasuke's betrayal, which is not a lie, he was still a rogue ninja of the Sound Village when he was attacking Orochimaru, and the village was technically still a thing because the leader was alive. And that's the thing though, like, the Sound Village is never really that explained. We don't know exactly if it's an actual village like the Leaf Village, or if it's just like the entire junction of hideouts and prisons that Orochimaru kept around a specific place. We also know Orochimaru had hideouts all around the world. For example, in the Grass Country itself, when Naruto and his team went to the Tenchi Bridge arc and they had the first contact with Sasuke after the time skip, well, that happens in the Land of Grass. But the Sound Village is definitely a village recognized by at least half a dozen other villages that participate in the Chunin exams in Naruto Part 1 because, well, they allowed the Sound Village to enter the exams as an official village. We also see several ninjas wearing Sound Village headbands, which is a good indicator. I'm in the Sound team in the Forest of Death, the Sound 4, the fight against the Konoha team in the Sasuke retrieval arc, Kabuto himself, as well as several other ninjas that attacked the Leaf Village during the Chunin exams, meaning that they were all loyal to Orochimaru, which makes them ninjas from the Sound Village. Sasuke obviously betrays him, and he is definitely the strongest rogue ninja from the Sound Village. We don't really know any others, but Sasuke is definitely one of the strongest characters in the series. And if you don't want to even consider Renegon Sasuke, for example, which, well, he technically still is a rogue ninja from the Sound Village in the war, even though he kind of aligned himself back with Orochimaru, bringing the 4 Hokage back, well, he was no longer working for the Sound Village. Orochimaru was actually working for him, so make of that what you will. But even if you consider Hebi Sasuke, the one who betrayed Orochimaru and killed him, that is still gonna be the strongest rogue ninja of the Sound Village ever. I mean, we don't know any others, but there may have been several other ninjas that tried to run away from Orochimaru's weird experiments, and I don't see any of them being stronger than Hebi Sasuke, who can blitz Yamato and his entire team, including Naruto himself, stomp them very easily. He has Kirin, has absolute prowess over his Sharingan, so yeah, Sasuke is powerful. Hebi Sasuke is very underrated as well. well. So now let's move on to the Waterfall Village. The strongest rogue ninja of the Waterfall Village is gonna be Suyen. And you may not really know who this character is, but he is actually very powerful. He appeared in one of the Naruto Part 1 movies that happens in the Waterfall Village, where Team 7 goes and has a mission to protect a ninja from the Waterfall Village from this other rogue ninja called Suyen, who is very powerful. He has extremely strong taijutsu, and he drinks the divine water of the tree in the center of the Waterfall Village, emptying his physical capabilities to no end. Now, some people will say it's Kakuzu, but Kakuzu got destroyed by a baby Ninetales and beginning of Shippuden Naruto with a half-complete Rasen Shuriken, and then Naruto managed to blitz Kakuzu 2 times, and that fight just sucked. If you want to know why, I've made a video about that fight as well, but Kakuzu does not deserve to be on this list. Unless if he was a ninja from the Rain Village. In that case, he would be more powerful than Pain, so he would be on this list, but not in this case. No, Suyen is much more powerful than Kakuzu. Now let's move on to the Leaf Village. Konoha has a very large portion of the rogue ninjas in the verse. You can pick and choose almost any type of rogue ninja you want. I mean, you can even start with Mizuki in the very first chapter. Obviously, he's not gonna be the strongest one, but he is an example. We then have almost every single Uchiha there ever was. Obito, Madara, Sasuke. I mean, even Itachi, even though Itachi never ceases to work for the Leaf Village, we thought he was a rogue ninja for a long time. We also have Orochimaru, and I'm pretty sure you can find many more examples because the Leaf Village is obviously going to be the one we're going to know the most about. It's the village of our protagonist. It's the one we are most accustomed to, so there's that. But who's the strongest one, though? Is it going to be Sasuke Uchiha, the double rogue ninja, because he's a rogue ninja from the Leaf and the Sound later on? Because if you think about it, Rinnegan Sasuke, the one we see in the Valley of the End fighting Naruto with his Indra Susanoo, is a rogue ninja of the Leaf Village. He used to work for Konoha, but now he wants to rule over the world. Now, sure, he wants to become the Hokage, and he's challenging Naruto for that in the Valley of the End in Naruto Shippuden there, but he also wanted to destroy every single Kage so that he could rule over the world, and even though he wants to be the Hokage and rule over the Leaf Village itself, he is challenging the established government of the Leaf Village, and therefore he is still a rogue ninja in that situation. It's only after Naruto talk no jutsus him after the fight ends that he returns to the Leaf Village and becomes a loyal shinobi to them again. But even still, that Rinnegan Sasuke is not going to be the strongest rogue ninja from the Leaf. No, it's gonna be obviously Madara Uchiha, the strongest character in the verse. I mean, it doesn't get much more powerful than double Rinnegan Sharingan Deidara. The guy casually tossed a couple of dozen Chibaku Tensei the side of a country as a distraction because he wanted to cast the Infinite Tsukuyomi. He casts the Infinite Tsukuyomi, which literally affects every single person in the world, with the exception of the Edo Tensei Hokage, Team 7, and Obito. And then he also casually claps his hands and uses a wood-style jutsu that imprisons every single person on the planet. And the guy does that with the most casual demeanor possible, as though it's not even spending his chakra. He has the perfect Susanoo, which, well, we can only imagine how powerful it would have been if he had used it in that state, you know, the Jubidara state. He has his Limbo clones, which is arguably the most OP jutsu in the verse. And Madara Uchiha used to be a Leaf ninja. He actually founded the Leaf Village with Hashirama, so he was one of the prime ninjas of the Leaf. And he left the village after disagreeing with Hashirama about a lot of stuff and knowing that there was more to this world than just ruling the village. He wanted to actually finish the job that Hashirama couldn't. The shinobi system failed to achieve peace, and Madara wanted to do that regardless of the consequences. So he set his goals to the Infinite Tsukuyomi plan, which led him to flee the village and actually betray them by challenging Senju Hashirama once more in the Valley of the End. Well, technically it's the place that would be known as the Valley of the End because of their fight, but you get the point. Madara is a rogue ninja of the Leaf and the strongest there ever was. He is much stronger than Rinnegan Sasuke. Don't even try to defend him. Oh, but Rinnegan Sasuke cut Jubidara in half. Yeah, Jubidara wasn't even trying to defend himself. Madara noticed Sasuke coming as he acknowledges Sasuke's fast, but he reacts to Sasuke coming It's just that he wanted to Kamui himself into the Kami dimension to get Obito's Rinnegan, you know, and get 2 Rinnegan. That Madara is actually not the strongest version of Madara by a long shot because he only had 1 Rinnegan, and we're talking about the peak Madara here, 2 Rinnegan, Sharingan Jubidara. And even still, that 1 Rinnegan Jubidara would have been able to destroy Rinnegan Sasuke regardless. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, like this video if you enjoyed it, and watch this other video right here for more cool Naruto content. Thank you so much for watching, guys.